Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Sprinkle of Risk. I am your host, as always, Marissa Jackson, and this is for my segment, A Conversation About God. I've been predominantly been active in this segment because it's just been really close to my heart, and what we got to do for each other is uplift one another, and if I can uplift you in Christ to lead you in a path that's going to be better for your life, I'm going to do that, and that's what my father has told me to do. So we'll get back to the singing videos and other topics later, but right now I just want to keep pouring into you because y'all have been coming back for this. So obviously what I've been talking about and teaching about has been helping you in some way. So even if it's just, trying to support me, I just pray that you get something out of it, and that's what I really care about. So this webisode is about, I wrote a title for this, All Things New. Because in my life, I have seen God change generational curses into generational promises for me. And there are many people who are in families who have a dark past. Everything isn't dark, but there's just things that just hold on to the bloodline with each generation. And you are going to be the person to change that. So I wanted to share this with you as, a piece of my story, more of my story. And as I continue to just be more open to people, more of my story will be unfolded because everyone has a story and yours is important as well. So don't be afraid to share yourself with other people so that they can be uplifted too. So first thing on the list is one of the generational patterns that was in my family was having children not only before marriage, but before the age of 20. I'll say that, 16, 17, 18. And this is real talk because a lot of families have gone through this. This is in no way to condemn anyone. It's just what is real. And even though you make it through, that doesn't mean that was meant for you. We're still children at those ages. And whether, especially if you're not married, I know you haven't prepared for it. And when I was, living my old lifestyle, I was, in that. And I could have had a child before marriage, but God kept me. And he said, I remember him always just telling my spirit that I wasn't going to have children before marriage. I wasn't going to have a family that had the environment of, the arguing and disagreements and things like that. That was going to change for me. And because he's kept me for this long, and I'm now, really operating in that mindset, keeping that true, like intentionally not doing the things that would lead to that, I can already see how he's blessing me. And a lot of that is already unfolding before my eyes. So I'm really grateful for that, Whatever promises God has spoken to you, even from childhood, believe that they are going to come to pass, but you have to make sure that you are being disciplined and not helping those things, not come true by your decisions. So pray over your decision making. Another thing is receiving my education. Before I graduated college and got my bachelor's degree, I didn't know anyone in my family who had done that. And if they did, they were much older. So in my youth, deciding to make that conscious decision of knowing how serious my education is for me and the doors that it can open and the wisdom that I would get, not really wisdom, the knowledge and the wisdom from speaking to other people with an education was very, very powerful. So receiving even my high school diploma was a big deal for me. Receiving my bachelor's degree was a huge deal for me. And I still am reaping the benefits of it and will be seeing blessings from that and keep going further in my education. That's not nothing to take lightly. So if you're doing that, if you have a desire to do that, do it and keep going because there are many blessings attached to your progression. So a lot of first things happening in the world right now and in my family, and I'm very grateful for God for it. Abusive relationships. This can be with people. This can be with drug addictions. Had to let it all go. These are things that I saw growing up, not only in the family, but in my community. God said that was not for me. It only took me about one time, maybe 1.5 times, to see that abusive relationships is not for me. It's not for my life. Do you see the smile? I love to be happy. I love to be joyous. Those toxic relationships are no good for you. I don't care how good it feels in the moment. But we love each other. Love don't hurt like that. So I'm glad I decided to let that go because it was not love. It was not love. It was not love. And I'm in a much better place because of it. And that was years ago. And I was that young, putting myself through that. You know, I had to cut it off. No love lost. It just wasn't for me. And especially abusive relationships, you abuse yourself when you are addicted to drugs. You know, even the ones that you think that are not addictive, if you can't easily put it down and you still feel like you got that itch or a tick to go do it, it has become addictive for you. So stop lying to yourself. You know, do what's good for you and your health. So yeah, God told me those things were not for me, that any form of abuse was not for me. He wanted to do something different for me, change the trajectory of my bloodline. So far we have children born before marriage, receiving my education, abusive relationships. He's turning this all around because he's changing the trajectory of the bloodline. This is happening for a lot of people. I really, truly believe that. And as soon as you receive it and start intentionally acting on that promise, you know, with your decision making, you're going to see many blessings happen in your life. So what's next on the list? Traveling. Now, I'm not saying that people in my family did not travel. I mean, that's definitely not what I'm saying, but my thing is a lot of them now are starting to see those things happen, and that's awesome. But to be as many places as I have, and I'm only 26 years old, and I really started my traveling at like 16, is amazing. It didn't take me all of my life to see these things happen. It was because I had the faith that was something that, you know, belonged to me. There was a promise that God gave me, and now I'm old enough to realize that it was because of him that this happened. So I acknowledge him for all of those blessings. But you know, at the time I just felt I mean, I felt blessed, but I didn't see just how blessed I was and the seriousness of it. So that faith of knowing like who I am and what was going to happen for my life is truly powerful, and you have to hold on to your faith. So yeah, traveling was a big deal because you deserve to see more than what you're just around, because you're not always your environment. You're not always a product of your environment. You know, I was always very different, unique to myself, even though my environment was the hood. I still had to stay true to myself, you know? So be strong for those people who know that you are not a product of your environment or where you have come from. Yeah. Next thing. My health healed. Protection. Y'all, I used to not be able to breathe. I used to not be able to breathe. As you can see, I am very blessed. That was a reason, but also there was a lot of secondhand smoke going on when I was a child, and growing up, especially going through my teenage years, like I didn't like running or anything like that because I couldn't breathe. Even as a child, before I even became this blessed, it was so difficult. And like, just through starting to be more active, I love to dance, you know what I'm saying? In college, I was working out more seriously, quitting smoking, like all those things. And I just really feel like my faith increasing in God has something to do with it too, because now I can breathe. I can take deep breaths. Y'all, I could never do that. I was never able to do that before. And I think it's because also there was hurt in my heart that was suppressing me from being able to feel free. I could not breathe. Way before that became a thing, you know, of a movement during COVID, I couldn't breathe. And now I can. Like, God is doing intentional turning around in my life. And I have to give him the glory, because I didn't do it. I did not do that. Who else did it? Let me be frank, okay? God did. So moving on to, and protection, you know. And this is about things that have been happening in my family bloodline and the history. Health has been always a concern, and nobody wanted to take their health seriously. I had to break out of that thinking too, like, something's wrong with you, go get checked out, go get a doctor. Yes, you can pray over it. I'm not saying that don't work, but what I'm saying is don't be ignorant. If you need help, go get it. You know what I'm saying? And I also say protection because there were just always freak accidents happening to people in my family, and I'm just like, when I would hear these stories, I'm like, does this not sound crazy to anybody? And I know it was, but I don't know if they really processed it. And I'm just like, I don't know what it was that was trying to work against my family, but we had to come up against that. And luckily, not luckily, but through God's protection, he really has kept me safe. I've never had any broken bones, and I've been in a car accident before, but never came out with any serious injuries or anything like that. Like, compared to some of the stories I have heard from my family, even the accidents that happened through, the abusive relationships, I never had to endure that. And it's not that I didn't see terrible things and that I never had to fear for my life, but whenever it got to a really that breaking point, something always interceded, always stepped in, because I don't want to have to brag about the fact that I've seen this and I've been through that, and I don't even want to be nowhere near it if it's not of God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love having peace. I love having joy, and some of the things that I had to see and be around, God said it wasn't for my life. When I became an adult and I started making my own moves, and when I have my own family, that's not going to be anywhere in my bloodline anymore. Do you see the change that is happening? And it's because also I decided to go with that will for my life. It's a decision. So yeah, my relationship with God and my faith in his promise for me. There have always been believers in my family. Yes, but I think there was always the lukewarmness, like, yeah, I believe in God, I believe in his word and stuff like that, but I'm still doing this every single day. It don't work like that. I'm telling you, it does not work like that. You know what I'm saying? And especially when you have people watching you and you're teaching them these things, but you're still doing this. What are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to believe? And I feel like with me, and I've also been influenced by other family members too that I truly am appreciative of. But he's showing me that if you're going to be with me, you're going to be with me, and there's no teeter-tottering. And the blessings that you will see because of that are going to be immense. And I'm not just speaking this for me, but I'm speaking this for the people on the other side of the screen too, that hear me talking and feel this in your heart. It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time to grow. Stop playing with yourself. God has many promises for you. And if you keep saying that you're with him and then doing all these other things that you know are no good for you, you're going to forever be on the fence. And you'll forever be double-minded. There's no room for that in his kingdom. There's no room for that. And the reason why I put my faith in his promise for me is because all the things that he told me, these are things that were instilled in me as a child. As a child, not what people told me, but what God has told me in my spirit, what I knew to be true. And I didn't always know that it was God telling me that, but when I was a child, I wasn't thinking these things of myself. He was instilling that in me, and I kept it with me throughout my entire life up to this day. And there were times that I really wanted to give up and, think that wasn't true, but I knew that was lies from the enemy. So I couldn't let that kill my faith and the promise that God had for me, and the fact that I still have it. A lot of people don't hang on to promises and beliefs for that long. I'm 26 years old, still making things happen, still fighting for those promises. And now that I've given my life to God, it doesn't feel like as much as a boxing match for me. The path is being made clear, more and more clear every day. And that mustard seed faith, like, can't nobody touch it. Nobody has been able to waver me from it. And I believe that there are many people out there that know this to be true for themselves, and you're waiting on that victorious moment where everybody's applauding you and stuff like that. But that's not really going to come. People are not going to like you because of your faith. And that's okay. Because we're not looking for their approval. Okay? So I want to give you 2 verses. Isaiah 65:17. It says, "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind." I almost forgot the things that I had been through because I've given my life to God and because it has been so peaceful for me. And I'm really being just renewed. He says, be not conformed by the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. I almost forgot. And it wasn't until I was put in a situation, environment of just what reminded me of what I used to experience as a child. And I was like, wow, I almost forgot that this is how that felt, that this is what that looked like. I know how to stay away from it. I have that discerning spirit, but I forgot that this is what it felt like. And I was reminded of just how much darkness God has pulled me out of. What he has allowed me to not see or experience anymore. And because I came into agreement with him that I wasn't going to put myself in those situations, I had to be reminded of that. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. His word is true. It's very true. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind. When you say you are a new creation, that's no joke. That's not fake. The old you has passed away. And people may think that we're joking when we say that. Or nah, that's just for now. It's a phase. There's no phase about it. You could be a backslider and go back to your old life, but it will be nothing like what God has planned for you. You are doing something new.
It's time. Treat yourself to our hazelnut mocha lineup.
Me too went to a commercial. But there are new things happening in your life. And what I want to tell you is to keep walking in that path. Keep walking that path. So that has just been a sprinkle of this. I love you all, and just know that things are getting better, and you're gonna be the one to change it.